Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am back on Facebook. I want to thank everybody who kept things running smoothly while I was gone. What I just want to touch on real quick, because they don't give me nearly enough time to voice the issues during the public comments, was this affidavit from the unlawful arrest on July 27th that I briefly spoke on, particularly right here in this paragraph. Okay, so you have both Carrozza and Loge were then processed, and the North Huntingdon Township Police Department advised them that they would be receiving charges via summons and explained why their devices were seized. Furthermore, officers informed both Carrozza and Loge that if they returned to the North Huntingdon Police Department lobby and continued to record on any other devices, they would be arrested again. Carrozza made comments indicating that he intended to return to the lobby and record in the future. Both Carrozza and Loge were released from North Huntingdon Township Police Department and left without further incident. So, look, you don't process people in this country without an issuing authority. That, in this case, would be this magistrate, right? So during a warrantless arrest, they have two options. They either release us on a summons, and then with the retaliatory charges they later filed in August for an incident in July, earlier in July, there was a fingerprint order to come get processed because they arrested, detained, issued the summons. They didn't detain me on that one. That's a retaliatory charge, so it's really hard to compare that to anything legal because it's illegal in and of itself. But nonetheless, they don't get to process you and then say, we'll send you a summons with your charges. I mean, just think about that logically. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be extremely well-versed in constitutional law or the criminal procedures. You just use a little bit of common sense. Would it make sense for the police to come get you, fingerprint you, take your photos, and then write up what you did wrong? Because remember, this affidavit of probable cause is dated July 28th of 2025, when the arrest happened on July 27th. So at the time that this was written, we had already had our fingerprint. They didn't even write what we did down, before processing us. And then, the fact that Judge Moore actually signed off on this on July 29th, because that's how this happens. They send this over to the issuing authority, who would be Henry Lee Moore in this case. He's supposed to be, I believe, reading over this affidavit of probable cause and making a determination. And you're sending me in here and off the gate, Your Honor, that they processed us before ever sending this to you. On top of the fact that, if we're going to be reasonable about this entire situation, Your Honor, there is a sign within the magistrate's office outside of the courtroom that states that there is no audio or video recording beyond this point, with a statute listed on it. The sign at the North Huntingdon Police Department is nothing more than that. It is a sign. There is no ordinance. There is no statute. There is no code. There is nothing giving it any legal teeth whatsoever to be enforceable. The North Huntingdon Police Department acted unilaterally and tried to enact legislation without involving the commissioners or the community, and that it cannot be done. So while I appreciate their attempt to use the Bradley case as a shield, as a blanket shield, to allow them to unilaterally place a sign up and tell the American people that they have no right to film in a publicly accessible lobby, I don't think that I know that that's not how it works. And then when you really get down into the Kevin Ray Bradley case and you put it up against what happened at the North Huntingdon Police Department, we have so many things that are different. The lobby door that we went through was never locked. There is no desk sergeant with a buzzer who's locking it or unlocking it for the people to enter. It is a completely accessible. They have information on the walls for the public to take. They have a drug take-back box for people to dispose of old prescriptions. They even have a sandwich baggie box with sandwich bags and instructions on what to do with the drugs, which would indicate that there are times in that lobby where citizens are left unattended to. They can't turn around to shield themselves from accountability and transparency and turn around and say, well, we have confidential informants coming in here, we have undercover officers coming in here, and we have victims coming in here as their excuse as to why we cannot exercise our First Amendment rights. And there were many being exercised on that day. It wasn't just the recording, which had nothing more to do than us wanting to protect ourselves, because this is a lawless organization with guns that we are going into unarmed with nothing more than cameras. So first and foremost, we want to protect ourselves when dealing with this lawless group of criminals. But we have the freedom of press to broadcast these things to our neighbors and to share this information with our neighbors. We were there exercising our freedom of speech by being critical of how they have been running things and certain issues that have been brought to our attention by our neighbors. We were there exercising our redress by asking for complaint forms, which to this day, we never received a complaint form. We assembled. There was 2 of us. You call it conspiracy. I call it assembly. You call it defiant trespassing. I call it not bowing down to unlawful orders. You call it being a criminal. I call it being an American. And if you want to railroad me through your court system and you want to, steal my things, because now what we have is nothing more than a strong arm robbery. I mean, when we go through the affidavit of probable cause, and you take it into full consideration that there was nothing lawful happening in this affidavit of probable cause, now what you have is a confession to a crime. They tied up 2 American citizens, they took their things, and they kicked them out the front door, threatening that if they did not leave or if they came back, that they would be arrested. Now you tell me, why in the world would I go back there without recording myself? Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. They're going to say, Nick, but the police, they wear body cams. North Huntingdon has body cams. You just file the Act 22 and you get the body cam footage. And I agree with you. It should be that simple, right? Because the body cams are funded by the taxpayer making the video, the taxpayer's video. It should be just as simple as filing the paperwork, waiting, and getting what you're asking for. But that's not how it works with these guys. I mean, I've tried to file for body cam footage in the past, and I've been told that the cost to get the body cam footage was $600. Meanwhile, they're not allowed to profit off the body cam footage, yet I don't see how it costs $600 to get me a clip, a digital file, and email it to me. On top of the fact that it was controversy a while ago where the district attorney, Nicole Ziccarelli, does not want any body cam footage being released to the public without her office reviewing it first. They went so far as to state at one of our local township meetings that the reason for the review was in case anything needed redacted. That's not, the purpose is transparency, not redaction. They are opposites of each other. You should not, but then again, that falls in line when the people of North Huntingdon Township suggested that they wanted a public oversight committee. Ron Zona went on the record vehemently opposing it, talking about sometimes things happen in the field differently than they happen or they are written about in the incident report. They've been doing this for so long that they are that comfortable that they'll just blatantly tell us that they're committing crimes. Why in the world, under any circumstances, would the incident report not reflect accurately what happened in the field? I mean, Ron Zona's statement as the chief detective of the entire county is extremely dangerous because it then calls into question every single affidavit of probable cause going through Ron Zona's, control. And I have to say he's accurate. He and I will show you right here another prime example of where that takes place, where Ron says that sometimes things happen in the field different than they are written about in the report, and we see that right here. Sergeant Bauer provided both Carrozza and Loge a physical printout of Commonwealth v. Bradley. That's not accurate. That is a prime example of it. It didn't happen in the field the way they wrote it in the report, because I have it on camera. Lieutenant Gregory Arendez, badge number 58, handing me that case. I'm having a discussion with him about the case, not Kerry Bauer. So, it's a lawless, it's a dishonest group. Chief Renegade Robert Rizzo has implemented some sort of cancer into the department, and there is absolutely, no integrity left at this point. Absolutely none. And I know that there's probably some officers that are more than likely, they get pissed off when they get lumped into the whole group. But I'm going to say this clearly again. They processed me before filing charges. That is an abuse of power. That is a crime. There are statutes being violated. You guys should be going into work on your next shift and arresting some of these people. So, until that starts to happen, I have no choice but to just say that the entire department, from top to bottom, every single last one of them, corrupt. It pains me to say that, and I hope that something happens that changes my view on it, but I'm telling you, I will say this one last time. They processed us and took our things, no warrants, no affidavits of probable cause, no issuing authority. That's a crime.